The wind hits your face like a blade. You can't see 10 feet ahead. Every breath burns your throat. This is some of the coldest air our ancestors ever learned to survive. 20,000 years ago, much of the planet was around 6 degrees colder than it is today, enough to transform forests into open steppe and reshape entire ecosystems. You're walking blind through white, until something breaks the pattern. A wisp of steam, curling up from the snow. You follow it, and there it is. A valley of green moss and open water, steaming in the freeze. Around it, a wall built from mammoth skulls, stacked and locked together like puzzle pieces. Firelight glows from inside. People are alive in there, in a place that should kill almost anything that breathes. They didn't survive because they were stronger than the cold. They survived because they learned to master the one force the Ice Age rewarded every single day. Fire. The greatest survival technology humanity would ever discover, and what fire made possible. Step back further. Over 1 million years. You're deep inside a cave in South Africa, so far from daylight you can barely see your own hands. But someone else can. Because there's a fire here. Small, careful, fed one twig at a time. This is Wonderwork Cave. Ash and burnt bone have been found buried this deep, dated to around 1 million years ago. No lightning strike reaches this far underground. For archaeologists, this isn't just evidence of fire. It's evidence of control. Someone carried this fire in. On purpose. As far as the evidence tells us, these early humans were likely preserving natural fire rather than creating it whenever they wanted. There's only one rule, passed down without a single word ever being written. Don't let it die. You feed it. You shield it from rain. You carry embers wrapped in bark for miles, praying the wind doesn't find them. Lose the flame here, and you don't just lose warmth. You lose light. You lose protection. You lose cooked food. You lose everything fire was about to become. Now imagine your fire is dying, and you're standing in one of the few places on Earth where almost nothing grows tall enough to burn. This is the Mammoth Steppe, a vast, frozen grassland stretching from Europe to Siberia. Herds of animals everywhere. Trees, almost nowhere. You scan the horizon. Grass, wind, sky. No firewood. Not for miles. For every family living here. This was the fear that never truly disappeared. Not just the cold itself, but the moment the last stick burns away, and there's nothing left to feed the flames. Every sunset brings the same brutal question. What do you burn when the land gives you no wood at all? The answer wasn't hidden. It had been lying all around them the entire time, left behind by every animal they'd ever hunted. Not in the trees, not beneath the ground, in the bones. Pick up a dry bone and try to light it. It barely catches. It seems impossible that this could ever become fire. But bone isn't just hard mineral. Fresh bone contains fat locked inside its marrow, while even older bones can still hold enough organic material to burn under the right conditions. Drop that bone onto glowing coals, and something changes. The fat and organic material inside begin to burn, feeding the fire from within. A hotter, steadier flame rises, and long after the flames settle, the mineral left behind continues holding heat, glowing like a furnace that refuses to quit. This changed everything. On a treeless plain, every animal killed for meat became something more. Not just dinner. Fuel. A single mammoth wasn't just food. Its bones became fuel that helped keep fires burning long after the meat was gone. Fire had stopped depending entirely on forests. It had started depending on the hunt. Now you need to start a fire from nothing. No embers to carry. No flame to borrow. Take a piece of iron pyrite. Strike it hard against sharp flint. You're not creating fire through friction. You're knocking loose tiny fragments of iron that ignite as they tear through the air, throwing sparks hot enough to catch carefully prepared tinder. Or try the other way. Spin a dry wooden shaft against a wooden base, over and over, until your palms ache and a thin curl of smoke finally begins to rise. Both methods demand dry hands. Dry tinder. Patience. One mistake. Damp wood. A shaking hand. A moment of hesitation. And you've lost the whole afternoon. This is no longer luck. Over thousands of years, different human species refined their own ways of making fire, each discovery built on countless failures. Fire had become something you could summon. And once you can summon fire, you can carry your world with you, anywhere. Watch closely. This isn't about warmth anymore. Someone rolls a sheet of birch bark and buries it in a shallow pit. They light a fire above it, not touching the bark, just heating it. Minutes pass. Then, a thick, black liquid begins to collect below. Too much air, and the bark burns to ash. Too little heat, and nothing happens at all. Everything depends on controlling the fire with remarkable precision. That liquid is birch tar. Sticky, water-resistant, strong enough to bind a sharp stone point onto a wooden spee so tightly it can survive the force of a hunt. Archaeological evidence shows Neanderthals were making birch tar at least 190,000 years ago, long before our own species is known to have done the same. They weren't just surviving the cold. Without knowing the word chemistry, they had learned to control heat with astonishing precision, transforming bark into one of humanity's earliest engineered materials. Fire wasn't just keeping them alive anymore, it was helping them invent. There's no wood here for shelter either, so look at what's left instead. Around you, dozens of mammoth skulls and jawbones are being lifted, one by one, and locked into place. A curved wall rises from the frozen ground, nearly 12 meters wide. This is Kostenki, in what is now Western Russia. Some of these bones had already been lying on the landscape for centuries before people gathered them here. Inside, a fire burns at the center. Its smoke escapes through an opening above, while cooler air is drawn in below, creating a steady airflow that helps keep the shelter livable. This wasn't a shelter thrown together in a panic. It was planning, engineering, experience passed from one generation to the next. The base is packed with earth to help block the wind and hold in warmth. A dwelling built from what the hunt provided: bone, fire, and the knowledge to make both work together. Now sit by that fire and watch what it does beyond keeping you warm. Meat, roasted over flame, becomes easier to chew, easier to digest, and unlocks more of the energy stored inside it. Many researchers believe that this shift toward cooked food may have played an important role in the long evolution of the human brain. Grains and roots, cooked in water heated by fire-warmed stones, become softer, safer, and easier to eat. Ice melts into drinking water. Raw hides dry into warm clothing. At night, fire pushes back the darkness long enough for stories to be told, tools to be repaired, children to learn, and wounds to be tended. For the first time, survival wasn't consuming every waking moment. Fire created time, and with time came knowledge. Every one of these small acts, cooking, boiling, warming, teaching, healing, traces back to the same source. Fire wasn't just one tool among many. It became the foundation that made countless other human skills possible. Take it away, and the entire world you've just walked through begins to disappear. Step back outside, into the cold one final time. Look at the glow coming from that bone-walled shelter behind you. Inside it, cooked food, dry clothes, a healed wound, a child sleeping through a storm that would have terrified an earlier generation. None of this happened by accident. It happened because someone, somewhere, refused to let a flame die. Generation after generation, that fragile flame became something greater. Fire on demand, fuel from bone, tools strengthened by heat, glue from bark, warmth carried across frozen worlds. You've just walked through the moment fire stopped being a lucky discovery and became one of humanity's greatest achievements. It gave our ancestors more than warmth. It gave them control. Control over the night, control over the cold, control over where they could live, what they could build, and eventually, who they could become. That first flame is gone, but the knowledge it sparked has never been extinguished. Every stove, every furnace, every city glowing after sunset, every light waiting for you when darkness falls, they all carry a small piece of the same ancient discovery. The fire itself didn't survive. The knowledge did, and we've been carrying it forward ever since.